Some men build empires. Cain Whitmore built walls. But even the highest walls crumble when love decides to wage war. If you believe in second chances, in love that refuses to give up, and in the courage it takes to tear down every lie you've ever told yourself, stay until the very end. Because this story will wreck you, rebuild you, and remind you why love is always worth the risk. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share if this story touches your heart. Cain Whitmore didn't believe in fate. He believed in algorithms, market projections, calculated risks. But he couldn't explain what made him take a different route home that October evening, or why he'd told his driver to stop at that particular intersection in Harlem. Then he saw her. She was kneeling on the wet sidewalk, her clothes soaked through from the rain, surrounded by a group of street kids who couldn't have been more than 7 or 8 years old. Her colorful sweater was soaked, but she was laughing, this big, uninhibited laugh that seemed to light up the gray afternoon, as she distributed what looked like homemade sandwiches from a battered cooler. "Miss Rochelle, you got peanut butter today?" one little boy asked hopefully. "Devin, baby, I got peanut butter, I got turkey, I even got some of that strawberry jam you like." Her voice was warm, rich, carrying through his car window. "But you gotta promise me you're going to that reading program Miss Jenkins told me about, okay?" "I promise." "That's my boy." She ruffled his hair, then turned to a little girl who'd been hanging back. "Imani, sweetheart, come here, don't be shy." The girl approached slowly, and Cain watched as this stranger, this woman whose name he didn't even know, took time with each child. Not just handing out food, but talking to them, listening, caring about their small lives in a way that made something in his chest ache. He didn't remember ever smiling so brightly as any of those kids when growing up. When the kids finally scattered, she stood up, wincing slightly like her knees hurt from kneeling. She began packing up her cooler, humming to herself, completely unaware she was being watched. Cain's driver cleared his throat. "Sir, should we find out who she is?" Cain heard himself say. "Everything. Her name, where she lives, what she does, everything." "Sir?" "Just do it, Leonard." That night, he learned her name was Rochelle Grant, 26 years old, worked 2 jobs, one as a program coordinator at a community center, another as a weekend hostess at a soul food restaurant in Brooklyn, used her meager salary to feed homeless kids twice a week, volunteered at a domestic violence shelter every Thursday, had dreams of opening a youth center that would provide free meals, tutoring, and safe spaces for at-risk children. She was extraordinary. She was everything good in a world Cain had long since accepted was mostly mercenary and cold. And he was completely irrevocably captivated. He started following her work, not in a creepy way, or at least he told himself it wasn't creepy. He followed her Instagram account where she posted about her kids, her dreams, her struggles to raise funds for her youth center project. He watched from a distance as she ran fundraising bake sales, organized toy drives, poured her entire heart into helping people who couldn't help her back. And slowly, somewhere between watching her dance with those kids in the rain and reading her passionate posts about breaking cycles of poverty, Cain fell in love. The problem was, Rochelle Grant would never love him back. He had made sure of that when he started a rumor about himself to keep everyone at bay. 3 years later, in the Whitmore Industries boardroom, Cain was sitting at the head of the table. "The optics are becoming a problem, Cain." Julian Cross, his CFO and only real friend, leaned back in his chair after everyone else had filed out of the quarterly meeting. "3 major investors have expressed concerns about your personal life. Translation, they believe you're gay and they're old-fashioned bigots who don't like it." Cain stared out at the Manhattan skyline. "Let them believe what they want. Except it's affecting business. The Dubai deal fell through because Sheikh Rahman won't work with someone he considers morally questionable. We lost the Singapore partnership for the same reason." Julian ran a hand through his dark hair, frustrated. "I told you that rumor would bite you in the ass eventually. It served its purpose. Keeping gold diggers away? Sure. But now it's costing millions. You need to do something about it. Like what? Take out a billboard announcing I'm straight? Like get a girlfriend. Get married. Do something that proves you're not. Julian gestured vaguely between them. With me. People think we're together? Kane's eyebrow raised. Kane, we're both single, we're always together, and I'm devastatingly handsome. Julian grinned, but it faded quickly. Seriously, though, my mother called yesterday asking when I'm going to stop living a lie and introduce her to my boyfriend. Meaning you, it's getting weird. Kane was quiet for a long moment, then, what if I did? Did what? Got married? To who? The only woman you've shown interest in is that Instagram humanitarian you've been stalking for 3 years. Julian paused. Oh no, Kane. No. Tell me you're not thinking... Her youth center project got denied funding again last week. She posted about it, said she's drowning in debt from her mother's medical bills, might have to give up the dream entirely. So your plan is what? Swoop in like some billionaire savior and what? Ask her to marry you? That's insane. I'll offer it as a business arrangement. Money for her center and her mother's care in exchange for a marriage of convenience. 2 years, maybe 3. Enough time to secure my international deals and prove the rumors false. And what happens when she finds out you're actually in love with her? Julian's voice was gentle now. Because you are, aren't you? Actually in love. I've never seen you like this, man. Kane's jaw tightened. She won't find out. Kane, she thinks I'm gay, Julian. She commented on one of your posts 6 months ago. Something about you and your partner make a beautiful couple. She believes the rumors. Even if I approached her directly, she'd never see me as a romantic option. This way, at least I get to... He stopped, the words catching. At least I get to be near her. To help her achieve her dreams. That's enough. That's the saddest thing I've ever heard. It's realistic. Julian stared at him for a long moment. You're going to get your heart broken. Probably. Kane turned from the window. But I'd rather have her in my life as a business arrangement than not have her at all. Make the offer. Anonymous donor at first. Feel out if she'd even consider it. And if she says yes? Then I'll spend however long we have together trying to be worthy of her. Even if she never knows why. Julian shook his head. You're an idiot. Probably that too. But 3 weeks later, when Julian reported that Rochelle had been approached about the arrangement and was considering it, Kane's heart did something it hadn't done in years. It hoped. Rochelle woke to 17 missed calls and a text message that would change her life. Unknown number. Miss Grant, this is Julian Cross, attorney for an anonymous client. We spoke last week about the proposal. My client is prepared to meet you today at 2 p.m., Café Noir in Manhattan, to discuss the arrangement in detail. He asks that you come with an open mind and a clear understanding that this is a legitimate business opportunity. The offer stands $5 million over 2 years, plus full funding for your youth center project, in exchange for a marriage of convenience. Reply yes if you're willing to meet. Rochelle sat up in bed, her heart pounding. She'd thought the whole thing was a scam, some elaborate fraud. But Julian Cross was real. She'd Googled him obsessively. Top corporate attorney in New York, representing some of the biggest names in tech and finance. And the money. God, the money. $5 million. Her mother's experimental cancer treatment that insurance wouldn't cover. The youth center she'd dreamed about since she was 16. All of it. Possible. For 2 years of her life, pretending to be someone's wife. She looked at the framed photo on her nightstand. Her and her mother at her college graduation. Both of them beaming despite knowing they'd have to pay off student loans for the next decade. Her mother had sacrificed everything for her. Worked 3 jobs to keep Rochelle in school. Never complained, never asked for anything. Now her mother was dying, and the treatment that could save her cost $300,000 that Rochelle didn't have. She typed with shaking fingers, yes. By 1:30 p.m., she was on the subway to Manhattan, wearing her best dress, a simple black sheath she usually reserved for job interviews. She'd done her makeup 3 times, her hands shaking so badly she could barely apply eyeliner. "You can do this," she whispered to herself as the train lurched toward the city. "It's just a meeting. Just hear him out. You don't have to say yes." But she already knew she'd say yes. How could she not? Café Noir was the kind of place Rochelle usually avoided. Sleek, minimalist, where a cup of coffee cost more than her hourly wage. She stood outside for 5 minutes, gathering courage, before finally pushing through the door. And there he was, sitting at a corner table looking like he'd been photoshopped into reality. Tall even while seated with broad shoulders that filled out his navy suit perfectly. Blonde hair styled with casual precision, and his eyes, steel blue, intense, tracking her movement from the moment she entered like he'd been waiting for this moment his entire life. Kane Whitmore. She recognized him instantly from the Google search she'd done that morning. American billionaire, tech mogul, CEO of Whitmore Industries, worth approximately $3.2 billion. Notoriously private, avoids interviews, presentations, and other public appearances at all costs. And according to every gossip site, very possibly in a long-term relationship with his business partner, Julian Cross. Her stomach sank, so the rumors were true. Kane stood as she approached, and God, he was even more intimidating up close. At least 6'3", with a presence that seemed to fill the entire cafe. Miss Grant. His voice was deep, controlled, but there was something underneath it. Nervousness? "Thank you for coming. Please sit." Rochelle sat, clutching her purse like a lifeline. "Mr. Whitmore." "Kane," he said it softly. "Please call me Kane." Kane. The name felt strange on her tongue. Too intimate for a stranger, even a devastatingly handsome one who was apparently about to propose a fake marriage. I'm not sure I understand what's happening here." I imagine Julian's message was somewhat shocking. That's one word for it. She forced herself to meet his eyes. "Why me? You don't know me. I'm nobody. Why would someone like you want to marry someone like me?" Something flickered in his expression. "Pain? You're not nobody, Rochelle. You're—" He stopped, seeming to choose his words carefully. "I have a business problem. The solution requires a wife. You need resources to fulfill your mission of helping at-risk youth and to help your mother. This is a mutually beneficial arrangement." "But why me specifically?" she pressed. "There must be dozens of women who'd jump at this opportunity. I need someone real." He paused. "And someone whose work I respect. I've followed your Instagram for some time. What you do for those kids, it's remarkable." Rochelle's eyes widened. "You've been following me?" "Not in a creepy way," he said quickly, and for a moment he looked almost vulnerable. "I've seen you before, about 3 years ago. You were feeding kids in the rain in Harlem, and I was impressed by your dedication. Started following your work. When I realized I needed a wife and you needed funding," he gestured vaguely. "It seemed like fate. You don't strike me as someone who believes in fate." "I don't, usually." His eyes held hers. "But I believe in what you're trying to build. This arrangement could give you everything you need, and all I'm asking is 2 years of your time." The coffee she'd ordered arrived, she didn't remember ordering, and Rochelle wrapped her hands around the cup for warmth, even though the cafe wasn't cold. "The rumors about you," she said carefully. "About you and Julian Cross, are they true?" Kane's expression went carefully blank. "Does it matter? I mean, if you're in a relationship with someone, this seems unfair to them." "Julian and I are business partners and friends, nothing more." His voice was firm. "The rumors are false, but they serve a purpose. They keep certain complications out of my life." "What complications?" "The kind that come with wealth and appearance." He said it without arrogance. "But now it's affecting my business relationships. I need to prove the rumors false without actually—" He paused. "So I'm what, a shield?" "You're a solution. And I'm offering you $5 million plus unlimited funding for your youth center, plus coverage of all your mother's medical expenses." He pulled out a folder. "The contract is straightforward. We marry, live together for appearances, attend social events as needed. After 2 years, we divorce amicably. You keep the money and continue your work. I get my business reputation back." Rochelle took her eyes away from him, not believing his denial about the rumors. He obviously won't admit to a stranger. She stared at the contract, at the number that could save her mother's life, at the future she'd thought was impossible suddenly within reach. "What would you expect from me? Public appearances as my wife, maybe twice a month. Social media presence suggesting we're happily married. You'd live in my penthouse, separate bedrooms, separate spaces. Your life remains your own as long as you're discreet." "Your mother, I hope you don't think of me as using her." Kane's voice was gentle. "Even if she doesn't need the money, I would still have wanted you to be—" He hesitated. "Wanted it to be you signing this contract," he finished, staring at his coffee cup. He didn't want her to see the raw emotion he is now trying his best to lock away. Rochelle looked at him, this beautiful, somewhat mysterious billionaire who was offering her everything and asking for almost nothing in return. Something about him didn't add up. The way he looked at her, the tremor in his hands he couldn't quite hide. The desperate hope underneath his careful control. Her phone suddenly buzzed, a text from the hospital where her mother was staying. "Dr. Okonkwo, Miss Grant, we need to discuss your mother's treatment plan urgently. Please call when you can." Rochelle looked at the contract on the table and she made the decision to sign. Even if she's signing her freedom away 2 long years and to a totally mysterious stranger, her mother's life is well worth it. 3 days later, Rochelle stood in the lobby of Whitmore Tower, clutching her purse and trying not to throw up from nerves. The elevator ride to the penthouse was surreal. When the doors finally opened, they opened directly into an apartment that looked like something from Architectural Digest. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Manhattan. Sleek, modern furniture in whites and grays. Art on the walls that probably cost more than her entire life. Everything pristine, expensive, beautiful. And empty. So empty. "Rochelle." Kane appeared from another room and her breath caught. He was in casual clothes this time. Dark jeans, a gray Henley that showed off his powerful frame. His hair was slightly mussed, like he'd been running his hands through it. He looked younger like this. More human, more devastatingly handsome. "Hi," she sounded breathless. "Sorry, this place is just—" "Impersonal?" He gave a slight smile. "I know, I don't really live here so much as exist here. Between business trips and meetings." He gestured to the seating area. "Can I get you something? Water, coffee? Water's fine." As he moved to the kitchen, Rochelle found herself studying him, the way he moved with barely contained energy. He seemed happy and more breathtaking. "Rochelle, stop," she mumbled to herself. "You can't possibly be admiring a very handsome billionaire, but still a gay that would never see you as a woman. Wait, what am I thinking? Why on earth would I ever want him to look at me as a woman?" She shook her head, pushing the thought far away. When he returned, he sat across from her, maintaining distance, always distance, and slid the water across the coffee table. "I transferred the first payment this morning," he said. $500,000. Check your account. The rest will come in increments over the 2 years, with a final payment at the divorce." Rochelle's phone buzzed. She looked down and nearly dropped it. Bank alert. Deposit. 500,000 horns. "Oh my God," her hands were shaking. "Kane, this is the down payment on your mother's treatment. Dr. Okonkwo's office has already been contacted. They're arranging her transfer to the German facility next week." His voice was gentle. "Your mother is going to be okay, Rochelle." A tear escaped before she could stop it. "I don't know how to thank you. You don't need to. It's a contract, remember?" He looked like he wanted to reach for her, comfort her, but kept his hands carefully in his lap. "Rochelle, I need you to understand something. This arrangement, yes, it helps me. But much more. I don't want you feeling like you owe me anything beyond what's in the contract. Your mother's life is worth more than any business deal. Why are you being so kind to me? You don't even know me. I know enough. His eyes held hers. I know you're the kind of person who works herself to exhaustion helping others. Someone like you deserves good things, Rochelle. Let me give you some. The words were simple, but the way he said them, like she was something precious, something cherished, made her heart stutter. The elevator dinged, breaking the moment. Julian Cross emerged, all easy smiles and casual elegance in a designer suit. The happy couple. He was carrying a briefcase and a bottle of champagne. Are we celebrating? I brought supplies. Julian, Kane's voice was warning. What? I'm being supportive. Julian grinned at Rochelle. Has he been weird? He's been weird, hasn't he? Kane, I told you to be normal. I'm being perfectly normal. You're being robotic. There's a difference. Julian set down the briefcase and turned to Rochelle with genuine warmth. It's good to finally meet you in person. I'm a huge fan of your work, by the way. That fundraiser you did last month for the kids' winter coats? Brilliant. You follow my Instagram? Rochelle was surprised. Kane made me follow it 3 years ago. Insisted I needed perspective on what real human goodness looks like. Direct quote. Julian's eyes sparkled with mischief. He's not wrong, though. You're doing incredible work. Julian, Kane said tightly. The documents? Right. No more embarrassing revelations. Julian opened his briefcase, spreading papers across the coffee table. Okay, so, standard prenuptial agreement. In the event of divorce, you keep all monetary gifts. Kane keeps his business assets. No alimony, clean split. You're both protected. He walked them through each page. Custody arrangements, none, obviously. Asset division, terms of the arrangement, the timeline. 2 years minimum, Julian explained. After that, either party can initiate divorce proceedings. Everything's designed to protect you both legally and financially. Rochelle read every word carefully. It was all exactly as Kane had promised. Fair, generous, almost too good to be true. There's one addition I'd like to make, Kane said suddenly. Julian looked up. Rochelle's youth center project. I want to add a clause guaranteeing full funding regardless of the marriage's outcome. Even if we divorce after 1 month, the center gets built. Her dream doesn't depend on how long she can tolerate being married to me. Kane, that's not necessary, Rochelle started. It is to me. His eyes were fierce. Your work is important. Those kids need you. I won't let our arrangement jeopardize that ever. Julian was watching Kane with an expression Rochelle couldn't quite read. Pride? Sadness? Both? I'll add the clause, Julian said quietly. Anything else? No. That's everything. They signed. Congratulations, Julian said. You're engaged. Sort of. In the weirdest way possible. He popped the champagne, poured 3 glasses. 2 unlikely partnerships and beautiful futures. May you both get what you need. After Julian left, the silence stretched between them. Kane stood at the windows, hands in his pockets, looking out at the city. You'll move in this weekend, he said. I've prepared the east wing for you. Bedroom, bathroom, sitting room, small kitchen, completely private. You won't even know I'm here most days. Where will you be? Working or traveling or... He paused, staying out of your way. I don't want you to feel suffocated by this arrangement. Rochelle stood, moved closer. Can I ask you something personal? Yes. Why do you seem so sad? His shoulders tensed. I'm not sad. You are. You have been since I met you. She studied his reflection. Your eyes show loneliness. It's like you're longing for something beyond your reach. Did you lose someone? Kane held his breath for a moment. No. He finally breathed out. But I miss someone. He turned back towards the window. Although I don't even know if I'm allowed to do that. He muttered to himself, but she clearly heard him, and something inside her broke. Kane. She didn't know what to say, didn't know how to respond to that kind of naked vulnerability. Forget I said that. He turned toward the door. I'm tired. It's been a long day. Make yourself comfortable. I'll be in my room if you need anything. He was gone before she could respond, leaving her alone in that beautiful, empty penthouse with the growing certainty that Kane Whitmore was lying about something fundamental. He wasn't just sad. He was in love. The question was, with whom? 2 weeks later, Rochelle had moved into the penthouse, and life had taken on a strange new rhythm. Kane was true to his word. She barely saw him. He left for work before she woke up, came home after she'd gone to bed. Her mother's treatment was going well, and her youth center was thriving faster than she'd ever imagined. She should have been happy, grateful, content. Instead, she was confused, because the more she watched Kane, in their few interactions, in the way he moved through the world, the more she saw things that didn't add up. He was as lonely as she was in this beautiful cage they'd built. And then there was Julian. Julian, who came by the penthouse constantly, who lounged on the furniture like he owned it, who made Kane laugh in ways Rochelle never could, who had inside jokes and shared history, and a connection that seemed unbreakable. Julian, who Kane looked at with genuine warmth and affection. Rochelle's head snapped up suddenly, as she came to a realization. What if he's in love with Julian? He has told her they're not together at their first meeting, but watching them felt like watching a couple. The way Kane relaxed around Julian in ways he never did around her, and Rochelle found herself thinking, maybe Kane has an unrequited love towards Julian. The thought lodged in her chest like a splinter. Because if Kane was secretly in love with Julian, if that's what all this sadness and longing was about, then Rochelle needed to help him. Needed to free him from this arrangement so he could be with the person he actually wanted. Even if that person wasn't her, wait, why would I care if it's not me? She pushed the thought away, focused on her growing conviction that Kane and Julian belonged together, that she was somehow standing in the way of their happiness. The charity gala was Rochelle's first major public appearance as Kane's wife. She wore a burgundy gown that Kane's stylist had selected, fitted, elegant, making her feel like someone she barely recognized in the mirror. You look beautiful. Kane's voice behind her was quiet, reverent. She turned. He was in a black tuxedo, and God help her. He was devastating, the kind of handsome that didn't seem fair. Thank you. You look, she gestured vaguely, very handsome. Thank you. He moved closer, and she caught his scent, something expensive and woodsy. I know tonight will be difficult, a lot of people, a lot of questions. Just stay close to me. I'll handle everything. At the gala, it was exactly as he'd promised. Kane was her shield, her anchor. When people asked probing questions about their relationship, he deflected with smooth charm. When photographers wanted pictures, his hand at her waist was gentle but possessive. Halfway through the evening, Julian appeared with a stunning woman on his arm, tall, elegant, with warm brown skin and an infectious laugh. Rochelle, finally someone interesting at these things. The woman pulled her into a hug. I'm Sienna Matthews, Julian's girlfriend, and your new friend, apparently. It's nice to meet you, Rochelle replied curtly with a smile, now realizing another obstacle other than herself to Kane's happiness. Julian's told me so much about you. Your youth center project sounds amazing. Sienna's enthusiasm was genuine. I do PR for nonprofits. I'd love to help spread the word when you launch. They fell into easy conversation about Rochelle's work, her vision, her kids. For the first time that night, Rochelle felt like herself. Not Kane's wife, not a billionaire's arm candy, just herself. She didn't notice Kane watching them from across the room, something vulnerable in his expression. Or Julian sidling up next to him, following his gaze. You're staring, Julian said quietly. I'm observing. You're staring at your wife like she hung the moon. Very subtle. Kane's jaw tightened. She's talking about her work. She's happy. That's good. You could talk to her about her work, you know. instead of worshiping from a distance like a creepy Victorian ghost. I don't want to interrupt, Kane. Julian's voice turned serious. You need to tell her. This silent pining thing is killing you. There's nothing to tell. Bullshit. You're in love with her. You've been in love with her for 3 years. You married her, for God's sake. At some point, you need to be honest. She thinks I'm gay, Julian. She probably thinks I'm in love with you. Then correct her. No, Kane's voice was firm, because the moment she knows the truth, everything changes. She'll feel obligated, uncomfortable. The ease between us, what little there is, will disappear. She'll spend the next 2 years tiptoeing around my feelings, trying not to hurt me. I won't do that to her. So you're just going to suffer in silence? I'm going to give her the best 2 years I can. Support her dreams. Be a good husband. The word caught in his throat. And when it ends, at least I'll have had this time with her. Even if she never knows what it meant to me. Julian stared at his friend for a long moment. You're an idiot, a noble idiot, but still an idiot. Probably. Later, in the car going home, Kane asked quietly, Did you have a good time? I did, actually. Sienna's wonderful. You and Julian are lucky to have each other. Kane's head turned sharply. What? You and Julian. Having someone who understands you like that. It's rare. She meant it kindly, but something in Kane's expression shuddered. Julian and I are friends, that's all. I know, I just meant... She stopped, studying him in the dim light of the car. Kane, can I ask you something, and will you be honest? Always. Are you happy in this arrangement because you seem so lonely? And I keep thinking... She took a breath. I keep thinking that maybe you're doing this for the wrong reasons, that maybe there's someone you actually want to be with, but you can't because of business expectations or fear or... I don't know. But I want you to know that if there is someone, you should be with them. Don't waste 2 years pretending with me when you could have something real. Kane was very, very still. You think there's someone I want to be with? I think you're one of the loneliest people I've ever met, and I think that doesn't happen unless you're keeping yourself away from someone important. You're not wrong. His voice was barely a whisper. There is someone. Her heart sank. Then why? Because they don't see me that way. Because I'm not an option for them. Because I'd rather have them in my life as a friend than risk losing them entirely by confessing something they can't return. He looked out the window. Some love is meant to stay quiet, Rochelle. Some feelings are better left unspoken. That's the saddest thing I've ever heard. Sad, but safe. They rode the rest of the way in silence, and Rochelle's mind was spinning. How on earth could she help him find the courage to speak up? Over the next 2 weeks, Rochelle became obsessed with solving the mystery of Kane's unrequited love. The pieces seemed obvious. Kane was in love with Julian. Julian was with Sienna, but maybe didn't realize Kane's feelings. And Kane was too noble to say anything because he didn't want to ruin the friendship. I need to help him, Rochelle decided. I need to show him that Julian cares about him too. Maybe in ways Julian doesn't even realize yet. Her first attempt was subtle. She started praising Julian whenever she and Kane were alone. Julian's really wonderful, isn't he? So thoughtful. Kane looked up from his laptop, confused. Yes, and handsome, very handsome. Anyone would be lucky to be with him, I suppose. Kane's brow furrowed. Why are you... No reason, just making conversation. The next day, she tried a different approach. Julian was over for their weekly basketball game. Apparently, they'd been playing one-on-one every Wednesday for years. Julian! Rochelle caught him before he headed to the building's private gym. Can I talk to you for a second? Of course. What's up? Are you happy with Sienna? Julian's eyes widened. Very happy. Why? No reason. It's just, sometimes people think they know what they want, but they're actually meant to be with someone else. Someone they've been overlooking because they're too close to see it clearly. Rochelle, what are you... I'm just saying, Sometimes the right person is right in front of you. That's all. She smiled encouragingly. Keep an open mind, okay? Julian stared at her like she'd grown a second head. Then slowly understanding dawned. His eyes went wide. Oh my God, Rochelle, do you think? He started laughing. Full body, can't breathe, laughing. Oh, this is amazing. This is the most amazing thing ever. What's so funny? Nothing, everything, life. He wiped his eyes. Does Kane know you're doing this? Doing what? Playing matchmaker for us. Trying to set me up with... He stopped, laughing harder. This is gold, pure gold. I don't understand. I know you don't, and that's what makes it perfect. Julian grinned. Look, I appreciate the thought, but trust me, Kane and I are not meant to be together. Like, at all. We'd kill each other within a week. But you're so close, as friends, best friends. But romantically? He shuddered dramatically. No thank you, I love the man, but not like that. Never like that. Then who is Kane in love with? He told me there was someone... Did he now? Julian's grin turned knowing. And you can't figure out who it is? No, that's why I'm trying to help. He seems so sad, so lonely. Because the person he's in love with is completely oblivious. Julian's voice gentled. Rochelle, you're a brilliant woman. But sometimes we can't see what's right in front of us because we're not looking in the right direction. What does that mean? It means pay attention, real attention, not to who Kane's with, but to how he is with you. Julian squeezed her shoulder. I've got to go before he comes looking for me. But Rochelle, stop trying to set me up with Kane. Trust me, there's someone much better suited for him. He left her standing in the hallway, more confused than ever. That evening, Rochelle decided to ask Kane directly whenever he comes around, as she was tired of being confused. She was making dinner when Kane appeared. That smells incredible. He hovered in the doorway like he wasn't sure if he was allowed in his own kitchen. Nigerian stew, my mother's recipe. She stirred the pot. There's plenty if you want some. I don't want to intrude. Kane, you live here. You're not intruding. She gestured to the counter. Sit. Keep me company. He sat watching her cook with an expression she couldn't quite read. Can I ask you something? Rochelle said, not looking at him. Always. This person you're in love with, have you ever told them how you feel? Kane was quiet for so long she thought he wouldn't answer. No. Why not? Because I'm terrified. The honesty in his voice made her look up. Because I've watched love destroy people. My mother married my father for money. Left when I was 8 because she'd gotten what she wanted. My father married another woman for my sake. She cleaned out his accounts and disappeared within a year. By the time he died, he'd lost most of his fortune to divorce settlements and broken trusts. I promised myself I'd never let that happen to me, that I'd stay in control, stay safe. And then I saw someone in the rain feeding homeless kids and my entire world shifted. His voice was raw. I tried to ignore it, tried to tell myself it was just admiration, just respect. But then I followed their work for years, watched them pour their heart into helping others, saw their kindness and strength and beauty, and I couldn't deny it anymore. I was in love, completely, terrifyingly in love. Rochelle's hand stilled on the spoon. Kane, and the worst part is, I know they'll never feel the same. Because I'm the gay billionaire, the emotionally unavailable businessman, I'm not someone anyone falls in love with. That's not true. It is true, and it's safer this way. Then make them see you. Tell them the truth. Be brave enough to be vulnerable. I can't. He stood abruptly, putting distance between them. Because if I tell them and they don't feel the same, I lose everything. I lose the pretense of closeness. I lose the peace of not knowing for certain. I lose hope, and hope is all I have left. Kane, I should go. Early meeting tomorrow. He was already backing toward his wing. Thank you for the dinner offer. It smells wonderful. Then he was gone, and Rochelle stood alone in the kitchen, her heart racing. Saw her 3 years ago, feeding children in the rain, the pretense of closeness. Hope is all I have left. Julian's words. Attention to how he is with you. And suddenly, horrifyingly, wonderfully, impossibly, she understood. Oh God, oh God. Kane wasn't in love with Julian. Kane was in love with her. Every interaction suddenly made sense. The hungry looks, the way he defended her, gave her everything she needed while asking for almost nothing in return. The business arrangement wasn't business. It was desperation. A last-ditch attempt by a man who didn't believe in love to be near the woman he loved, even if she could never love him back. But could she? Rochelle pressed her hands to her chest, feeling her heart race. Thought about Kane's rare smiles, the way he listened when she talked about her kids, his brilliant mind, his unexpected kindness. How safe she felt around him, how seen, how much it hurt when he pulled away. Oh God, she'd been too blind to see it, too convinced by the gay rumors, too focused on trying to push him toward Julian, too scared to admit that maybe this arrangement wasn't just convenient, maybe it was everything. It was 2 a.m., but she didn't care. She had to tell him, had to let him know that she now understood his heart. She crossed the shared space to his wing, knocked on his door. No answer. Kane, are you awake? Still nothing. She tried the handle, unlocked. She pushed it open slowly. His room was dark except for the city lights filtering through floor-to-ceiling windows. And there, silhouetted against the Manhattan skyline, was Kane, standing motionless, hands in his pockets, staring out at the city like it held answers he desperately needed. Kane? He turned, and even in the darkness she could see the wetness on his cheeks. He'd been crying. Rochelle, what are you? It's late, you should be. It's me. The words burst out of her. I'm the person you're in love with, it's me. Kane went absolutely still. What? The person you saw feeding kids in the rain. The person whose work you followed for 3 years. She moved closer, her voice shaking. It's me, Kane. It's always been me. Rochelle. And I've been so stupid, so blind, trying to set you up with Julian because I couldn't imagine that someone like you could want someone like me. Making everything about business and arrangements when you've been showing me every single day that this is real for you. That I'm real for you. Stop. His voice was wrecked. Please stop. Why? Because it's true? Because you don't want me to know that Kane Whitmore, the man who doesn't believe in love, fell in love. That you've been in love with me this whole time and I've been too blind to see it? Yes, I'm in love with you. The words exploded out of him. I've been in love with you for 3 years, and every day of this marriage has been torture because I get to be close to you but not really have you. Kane, it's killing me, Rochelle. Every time you smile at me, every time you laugh without realizing that your happiness feels like oxygen when I've been suffocating. It's killing me to love you and know you'll never feel the same. How do you know I'll never feel the same? Her voice was quiet. Do you love me, Rochelle? He stared at her face, moving dangerously close to her, deep longing in his eyes. His face carried hope, desperately yearning for her love. But he knew. He knew she didn't feel the same way about him. Rochelle couldn't answer him. Did she love him? She couldn't figure this overwhelming emotion out just yet. Thought as much, Kane whispered, hurt visible in his voice. He moved backward and turned back to the window. Kane, look at me. I can't. If I look at you right now, You'll what? Tell me the truth? She moved to stand in front of him, forcing him to meet her eyes. I need you to be brave right now. Tell me what you want. Rochelle, tell me. I want you. The words were torn from somewhere deep in his soul. I want you so much it terrifies me. I want to wake up next to you and have it be real. I want to kiss you without it being for cameras. I want to build a life with you that isn't an arrangement. His voice broke. I want you to love me back, even though I know you don't. She moved closer and kissed him, catching him by surprise, but not for long. He held her so tight, kissing her back with a longing of 3 years, letting out his overdue suppressed emotions. They were both breathless when they finally pulled apart. "Kane," she cupped his face in her hands. "You beautiful, stupid man. How can I love you back when you never gave me the chance to fall in love with you in the first place?" He froze. "What? I thought you were gay. I thought you were in love with Julian and this was just business." "But Kane, I've been feeling things I couldn't explain. Things I didn't let myself feel because I thought they were impossible." "What things?" His voice was barely a whisper. "Like how it hurt when I thought you were in love with someone else. Like how right now, standing here with you, I feel more alive than I've felt in years." She smiled through her own tears. "But I don't know if it's love yet." "You're falling for me?" He said it like he couldn't quite believe it. "I'm falling for the man who saw me in the rain and remembered me for 3 years. Who funded my dreams before I knew I needed saving. Who married me knowing I might never love him back, just so he could be near me." How could I not fall for that man? Kane's hands came up to cover hers, still cradling his face. "If you're saying this out of pity, I'm saying this because it's true. Because I want to try, Kane. Really try not an arrangement, but a real relationship." He kissed her, again. His hands framed her face like she was something precious, something he couldn't quite believe he was allowed to touch. When they finally broke apart, Kane pressed his forehead to hers. "I love you," he whispered. "I love you so much it scares me. So much I don't know how to be normal about it." "I love you. I know," she kissed him softly, "and someday soon I'll say it back. But right now I need you to believe that I'm here. Kane, I'm yours." "I can't believe you're here right in front of me." "Get used to it," she grinned. "Because you're not getting rid of me now. No takebacks on the marriage, Whitmore. You're stuck with me. Best contract I ever signed." He kissed her again, smiling against her lips. "Even if it took you forever to read the fine print. Hey, I got there eventually." "You did." He pulled her close, tucking her against his chest. "Thank you for seeing past my walls. For giving me a chance." They stood there in the darkness, holding each other, 2 broken people who'd found a way to be whole together. And for the first time since this arrangement began, Kane Whitmore let himself hope. And tomorrow they'd open a youth center built on hope. But tonight, they'd built something even better, a real chance at forever. The youth center's grand opening was everything Rochelle had dreamed of and more. The building gleamed in the afternoon sun, its walls painted bright colors chosen by the kids themselves. Inside were classrooms, a computer lab, a full kitchen, and even a small recording studio. Everything she'd dreamed of, made real by the man who stood at the back of the crowd, watching her with eyes full of love. 3 years ago, she began, her voice shaking with emotion, I was feeding kids on a street corner in Harlem, wishing I could do more. Dreaming of a place where they could not just survive, but thrive. She turned to look at Kane, and the love in his eyes nearly undid her. Someone saw me that day, really saw me. And even though I didn't know it, he carried that moment with him for 3 years. Watched my work from afar, believed in my dreams when I'd almost given up on them. Her voice broke. My husband, Kane Whitmore, didn't just make this center possible. He made me believe in second chances. The crowd awed, and Kane looked like he might combust from emotion. But today isn't about that. Today is about these kids, about giving them the safe space they deserve, about breaking cycles and building futures. About hope. She smiled through tears. About all the beautiful things that happen when someone is brave enough to love without guarantee. When someone says, I see you and you matter. She turned back to the crowd. That's what this center represents. That's what my husband taught me. And that's what we're going to give these children every single day. The applause was deafening, but all Rochelle heard was Kane mouthing, I love you, and forming a heart with his hands against his chest from the back. 6 weeks later, they'd fallen into a new rhythm. No more separate wings. They shared Kane's bedroom now, fell asleep tangled together, woke up to soft kisses and whispered good mornings. Kane had stopped hiding his feelings. He said, "I love you" freely now when she brought him coffee, when she laughed at his terrible jokes, when she simply existed in his space. And Rochelle felt it growing in her chest, that overwhelming, terrifying, beautiful feeling that she knew was love, but hadn't yet voiced. Until one random Tuesday evening. They were cooking dinner together. Kane's attempt at pasta was going hilariously wrong. When he made her laugh so hard she had to lean against the counter. "Stop," she gasped. "You're going to make you what?" He was laughing too, covered in flour, looking young and happy and so unbearably beautiful. "I love you." The words fell out before she'd planned them, before she'd prepared a speech or picked a perfect moment. Kane froze. "What?" "I love you." Now that she'd said it once, she couldn't stop. "I love you. I'm in love with you. Completely, utterly, ridiculously in love with you." The wooden spoon clattered to the floor. Kane was across the kitchen in 2 strides, lifting her up, spinning her around. "Say it again." "I love you, Kane Whitmore." "Again." "I love you." She was laughing and crying. "I love you. I love you. I love you." He kissed her breathless, then pulled back just enough to look at her. "You have no idea how long I've waited to hear that." 3 years, give or take. She grinned. Was it worth the wait? Every second. He set her down gently, hands framing her face. "Every lonely moment, every wall I built, every tear I cried, all of it was worth it for this, for you, for us. No more walls?" "No more walls," he promised. "Just you and me, building something real. Something permanent," she added. "Because I'm not going anywhere." "Good." He kissed her softly. "Because I'm keeping you." "Forever." "Forever," she agreed. I liked the sound of that. They decided to renew their vows, or rather, to have a real wedding this time. Not a business transaction in a courthouse, but a celebration of love with everyone they cared about. The venue was a garden in upstate New York, intimate and beautiful. Rochelle's mother, healthy and glowing, walked her down the aisle while the youth center kids formed a choir. Julian stood as best man, and before the ceremony he took the microphone with a grin. "I have a confession," he announced. About 6 months into their marriage, Rochelle tried to set me and Kane up together. The crowd burst into laughter. She thought Kane was in love with me. Julian was doubled over, spent weeks dropping hints about how we'd make a great couple. Meanwhile, Kane was dying inside because the woman he loved was trying to give him away to his best friend. "Julian," Kane warned, but he was smiling. "The point is," Julian continued, his voice turning sincere, "even when Rochelle thought Kane loved someone else, she wanted him to be happy. That's who she is. Selfless, kind. The exact person Kane needed to demolish every wall he'd ever built." He raised his glass. To Kane and Rochelle. To love that waits. To courage that tears down walls. To second weddings that are really first weddings. May you have forever. Then came the vows. Kane went first, voice shaking with emotion. "Rochelle, 3 years ago I saw you in the rain and my entire world changed. I've loved you through silence and hope and fear. I've loved you through an arrangement that became real. And I'll love you through every day we have left. You're my home, my heart, my everything." Rochelle didn't need notes. "Kane, you taught me that vulnerability is strength, that walls don't protect us, they isolate us. That love is worth every risk." She smiled through tears. "I choose you, today, tomorrow, forever. Not because of a contract, but because you're you, and I love you so very much." When they kissed, everyone cheered. Later, at the reception, Kane pulled her onto the dance floor. "Best decision I ever made," he murmured, "was stopping that car in Harlem. Best decision I ever made was saying yes to a stranger in a cafe." "Not strangers anymore." "No." She kissed him softly. "Never strangers again. Just us. Forever. Forever, he agreed. And I plan to spend every day of it loving you. I'm counting on it. They danced under the stars, two people who'd started as a business arrangement and become each other's everything. And somewhere, in a youth center in Harlem, children played in safety. All because someone was brave enough to love without guarantee. All because sometimes the best love stories are the ones that start with walls and end when those walls finally crumble. Thank you for joining Kane and Rochelle on their journey from arrangement to forever. If this story touched your heart, please like, subscribe, let us know where you're watching from, and share. Your support brings more stories of impossible love and courageous hearts. Remember, love is always worth the risk. Always.